We're live. Hey, this is Tim Shirer from Lake County Sentinel. This is a Sentinel Sports Extra. We're going to talk about the high school football playoffs. The matchups that the high school football playoffs start on Friday, November 1st. And we're going to cover a bunch of games. Tommy, you're not sure what game you're going to cover yet, right?
Not sure.
Not sure. So we're not sure about that one. I'm going to be covering Wycliffe, Toronto. Joey, where are you going to be at?
I will be in Geneva as the 9-1 Geneva team. Very good team this year takes on the Madison Blue Streaks, who are 7-3.
All right. So let's start with the matchups. We'll go from this is no particular order. No school is more important than any other. They're all important, and they've all made the playoffs. So they're all important, and they are should be proud that they made the playoffs because it's not easy.
Before we get into everything, Tim, can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
Can I say how terrific it is that we are doing the show? Yourself, Mr. Tim Shirer, Tommy Shirer, and this show is so great. Brought to you by Lake County Sentinel and the good folks over at Tommy. Why don't you tell us the good folks that the show's brought to us by?
Yeah, so it's CT Roofing and Power Wash. So I actually own the company, but we're doing some good things now. So
the official roofing and power washing company of the Lake County Sentinel.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sponsoring the show. This is fantastic, and the fact that we get to do this and talk about all these schools in Lake County, and I mean, how many you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 schools. Nine schools. Nine schools out of 11, I believe, in Lake County made the playoffs.
And let's look. These 9 made it. Two didn't. Paynesville, Harvey, and Eastlake North. But there was a point just 2 weeks ago where all 11 schools were in the top 16. So they're not far off. I'm telling you, they're not far off. Let's be honest here.
Give a quick shout out.
Harvey is not far off. And North, you saw them play.
They're a young team. They're going to get better. They got a phenomenal coach in Sean Dodd. Shout out to Coach Dodd. Really great person, great coach. Young team again. They'll get there. And Harvey has a great team as well. Though I will not be surprised to see them in the playoffs next year.
No.
All right. We look like we're having trouble with one of the. Okay. So we'll stream this later on Twitter. I have to have a premium account.
I was just gonna say
you gotta love Elon Musk. Okay, but yeah. So but we'll get that later. So obviously it's playoff week 1. We got first game we're gonna look at is Mentor St. Ignatius. Mentor 10-0. St. Ignatius 2-8. They played the first week, and Mentor beat them. But from what I understand, St. Ignatius's sophomore quarterback was out that week, so you never know. Joey, you've seen Mentor play. What do they got?
They have a phenomenal quarterback in Scotty Fox, committed to West Virginia. Big, tough kid, can run, has an absolute cannon for an arm. Their mentality is they're extremely focused this year. They went undefeated. They want to stay undefeated. They want that Division I title, and they know what it's going to take to get it. They also have Justin Hodge, receiver who has multiple Division I offers. Both kids are just extremely nice, but they are focused players. They listen to their coaching staff. The entire team is just great kids, but they know what it takes to get to where they want to go. And they know that the gauntlet they're going to have to go through is extremely hard. It's the toughest that you're going to have to go through. Physically, mentally, they're all tough. But physically, when you're D1, you got big bodies, a lot of Division I players, same, D2, D3
have
as
more
well.
kids in the school. So,
right.
Yeah,
but
it's the bigger kids. You got bigger kids.
Right. But this is a very focused Mentor team. And I think that a lot of these players have, they've been close the last couple of years, and Scotty Fox has been the starter since his sophomore year, I believe. So, this is his third year as being a starter.
Okay.
So they're focused, they're ready, and they played Ignatius week 1. And Tommy, what was the score again?
21-14.
21-14. And, Ignatius is going to be a tall task, even though the record doesn't show as much. But anytime you play an Ignatius or an Eds or any of the private schools, it's a tough game. Well,
okay, let's move on. We've got the next game we have is Kirtland at Rootstown. 10-0 Kirtland once again. They're Kirtland, and I mean,
simple.
I know people like to, talk about some of the other schools, but the standard, I think, right now in Ohio for high school football, really, the last 10 or 15 years is Kirtland. And so it's going to be an uphill battle for Rootstown. But, what do you think, Joey?
I mean, like you said, Kirtland's been the standard in Lake County for a while. Tiger.
I think they're the standard in Ohio.
Yeah. Tiger Laverty, head coach, is as good as they come. He built that program from the ground up. However many years ago was it? 13, 14 years ago. And the fact that they avenged their loss from last year to Perry. Both teams won state last year, but this year that was such a big game in Lake County. Kirtland versus Perry, and Perry won last year. Kirtland was able to avenge that loss this year, and the fact that they're still blowing teams out the way they are after losing Jake Laverty, who is Tiger Laverty's son, but Jake, starting quarterback, and he got hurt, and they still, next man up mentality and went undefeated.
Yeah, they have a lot of depth at Kirtland.
Oh, yeah.
They have for quite a while. I just
what helps them.
Program.
What helps them is running the same offense from the time these kids are 8.
Yeah,
exactly.
Running the same defense and offense. I mean, you're going to know it like the back of your hand, So,
the one thing about that, and I've said this for a while now, is you've had so many programs trying to duplicate.
Keep going. I'm going to disappear for a second. Keep going.
You've had so many programs trying to duplicate what Tiger has done in Kirtland by starting these kids on the same program from the time that they're playing Pee-wee up until they are in high school, and some have had success doing that, and others it seems like they can't duplicate that same success or even come close to it. So it's a combination of having pretty much the same playbook, and then getting those kids into the weight room when, at the right age to do it, and having a good strength and conditioning coach and program.
Yeah, they have a great one there.
Yeah. And, but to see them being able to do it year after year after year is that's a standard in Lake County for Kirtland. And like Tim said, that's a standard for Ohio now, because they are just so successful.
And, they have a great defensive coordinator in Ryan Beeler, son of Painesville Harvey legend Dick Beeler. Ryan Beeler has done a great job with their defense. Not only is Ryan Beeler a great coach, he's a great person. He's a great teacher. Yep. Tommy, you had him.
I did. Best teacher I ever had. It's not even a question.
and he used to teach at Wycliffe. They lost him. He's now at Kirtland. Huge loss for Wycliffe, and big gain for Kirtland. So that's but he's an amazing human being. I got a chance to sit with him at a wedding, and just a really nice person. And so I always root for Kirtland, because of Ryan Beeler. He coached Wycliffe for a couple years, I think 2 years. And it was at the worst point of Wycliffe's school system where there was no money. The football
Not a
team
lot of kids.
2 or 3 assistants, and it was just a tough time. And it didn't go well. I think they won 1 game in his time as the coach, but I think he's proven now that it wasn't all on him. He didn't have a lot of help. It's really as far as assistants. There's no paid assistants, it's difficult. But we can move on now. Let's move on to the Perry Akron Buchtel. The Perry Pirates will host Akron Buchtel. Perry is 9-1, as Joey mentioned. Their only loss was to Kirtland
by 1.
Buchtel that was a close one. It was overtime, right?
Yeah.
Overtime in the pouring rain.
Yes, that's fun. That's fun.
That game could have turned out different if it wasn't raining.
Yeah, could have.
Yeah, you never know. That was a good football. Just like bad weather, 2 good football teams, hard nose. Anything goes team, and you knew whoever won that game, the other one was going undefeated.
Yeah. I mean, they're 2 powerhouses right now, and so they're going to try to win their 2nd state championship in a row. Perry, Buchtel's 4-6, so that shouldn't be a problem. But you never know. I mean, I don't think it will be a problem. But
crazier things definitely.
I guess in football anything can happen.
Well, Perry had such a young team last year, and they had a stud running back in Jaden Studio who ended up going took a Division I scholarship to Akron. He was also being pursued by Boston College at the time. I mean, he had a ton of offers, but he ended up going to the University of Akron. And they got a great quarterback in Walter Moses, who I believe is committed to Toledo.
He just broke the school passing record for 3 yards and touchdowns.
Yep, and exactly. And then you got Coach Bob Geswich, who is just has them locked in. Didn't miss a beat after that loss to Kirtland. That's a tough loss, and a lot of times it's hard for especially when you want to win a game so bad, it's hard to focus on the next thing. But when you have good coaching and you get your kids focused, you say, okay, that's 1 loss, time to move on to the next. And that's good coaching does that. And he had them, march on to the next game, and that was their only blemish. And it's, no shame in losing to Kirtland.
No, there isn't. I mean, there
Especially
hasn't
by
been
1.
What's that?
Especially by 1 point.
Yeah. And, there hasn't been any shame in losing to Kirtland for about 15 years now. Yeah, they've been running it up for a while. But we got the next game we have is we have Lake Catholic at Ravenna. Well, it's not at Ravenna. It's at Lake Catholic. But 10-0 Lake Catholic against 4-6 Ravenna. Did you see you saw Lake Catholic, right, Joey?
Yeah, I covered Lake Catholic.
Yeah. Sure. What was the what did you see there?
That is again, really talking about a locked in team. Coach Gibbons has that team 100% locked in. They got a good quarterback, Frankie Trinetti, on top of just phenomenal receivers. You have Cross Nemo, who was committed to the University of Minnesota, just decommitted and is opening up his recruitment again. But I mean, that's a talented team from top to bottom. Big team, strong. I mean, they seem like. They are about as much of a juggernaut as I have seen from Lake Catholic. Maybe since the last time they won a state title, they're focused, they're locked in again. Like I said, and I hate using the same phrase, but that's really what you have to be once you enter the playoffs. You're focused on one game at a time. You're not looking ahead to the regionals or the state title. It's what your goal is, and you have to take it one game at a time. And that is just an extremely talented team from top to bottom.
All right. Well, now we'll move on to Wycliffe at Toronto. That's the game I'll be covering. I said to Tommy when the matchups were announced, this is really a pain, Toronto, because it's at Toronto, and now I got to get a passport.
Yeah.
Go to Toronto. Like, it's Toronto, Canada, right?
Toronto, Canada might actually be closer than Toronto, Ohio.
No, it's not. It's far.
Are we sure?
What's funny is I had a friend who lived in Toronto, Ohio, and
by the Ohio River.
Oh, it's their football stadium. You can from their football stadium. The visitor, I believe it's the visitor bleachers. It's one of the two. It's right behind you is the Ohio River. Like you can see West Virginia clear as day. It's right across the river from the stadium.
I traveled to West Virginia.
2020,
5 years ago now.
Yeah.
To watch Fairport play a game. And that was interesting. We had to they rented a tour bus to go down, and we had to get off the tour bus and take a school bus up to the field because the roads going up the mountain were not wide enough for the tour bus. It was quite interesting.
Yeah.
But Wycliffe at Toronto, we've all three of us have seen Wycliffe. I covered let's see, I believe 5 games. I think 5. Joey, you covered a game. Tommy, you covered a game last week.
Yeah, they played Beechwood, so.
What's that?
They played Beechwood, so I don't really know if I got to see much. I mean,
well, you did. You got to see them. I mean, it's better than if you didn't see them at all.
True.
I think you can't say Wycliffe right now without Logan Ruskin.
No, yeah, that was apparent.
Yeah, I mean, I told you guys, maybe third or fourth week, that Logan Ruskin was something. And that's why I'm glad both of you got to see them, because he is something. He's a 2-sport athlete. He plays baseball. He's a catcher on the Wycliffe baseball team. He's a really nice kid. A lot of people haven't heard of him because, let's face it, he plays at a smaller school, Wycliffe. But this kid can do everything. He comes out of the backfield. He can catch passes. He can run. He punts. He gets the high snap on a punt and runs it back for a touchdown. Runs back kickoffs or punts. I mean, he's just really, if Logan Ruskin they can get the ball in Logan Ruskin's hands. This is a close matchup. This is a 7-10. Wycliffe has a shot at winning this game. What do you think, Joey?
Like you said, with this matchup being a 7 seed and the 10 seed, it's kind of anything can happen, and I think that the records don't. They're both 7-3. Isn't that what you said, Tommy?
Yeah, they're both 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the X factor for Wycliffe here is gonna, like you said, is gonna be Logan. You watch this kid play and you don't realize how tough he is, and then he starts running, and he's not the biggest kid in the world. I mean, I think he's like 5'8", 5'7", 5'8", but he runs like he's 6'1", and he's blazing fast. And like you said, he could do everything, but it's not just him. It's the play calling from Coach Porcello and them kind of, rushing by committee. I believe the game I went to, they had I think they had 320 yards at half rushing, which was crazy. I mean,
yeah,
it's Logan is a huge part of it, but they have so many different options, so many weapons where they can.
Jackson.
Yeah.
They got a running quarterback, Frankie Bukar. He can run. We got Nunzio Savnaska's another one. He does a lot of different things too. He loves to hit on defense. He run with the ball. He's one of those goes around end a lot, and if the first guy misses him, it might be over. And he has been kind of quiet this year. He hasn't been, had as many big runs as he has had in the past. So if he breaks out on Friday, that's another factor.
That was going to be what I was going to say is if they focus too much on Ruskin, a guy like, Nunzio could really have a good game.
Yeah.
The thing that concerns me about Wycliffe, though, is what I've seen watching or what I saw is I think they have the tendency to give up a big play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they necessarily hit as hard as they could on some of these tackles.
I mean, of course they give up a big play. I only watch football teams that give up big plays.
Yeah.
Ohio State's given up big plays. Right?
Yeah.
And as you two know, being a Buccaneers fan, they only give up big plays. So,
they give up the most, I'd say.
What's that?
They probably give up the most.
The Buccaneers. Oh, yeah. I'd take Wycliffe's defense over Tampa Bay's right now.
I don't know if that go well against an NFL offense.
But. Well, I'll tell you what. It's
who impressed me on their defensive side was Andrew Darch, big lineman.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, Beechwood had a big play early. First play of the game, they were on offense. Actually, Beechwood had no chance in this game. It was obvious from the start.
Yeah, they've struggled the last few years.
But I'm telling you, this kid was 25 yards in front of him. He's 280 pounds. I mean, he's got to run. He's got to have 4.8 speed. He was cruising down that field. I was like, what is going on here? So, yeah, he was moving. Yeah. And I believe he had like 15, 16 sacks on the season.
Every game I covered, it was at least a couple sacks.
Yeah, I think he had 2 or 3 the other day. So.
Yeah, he was something. And, so, and look, I'll tell you this. I'm not saying they're, elite, but their secondary is probably one of the best secondaries they've had in quite a while, probably since 2020. And let's say this too.
They're fast.
This is the first time Wycliffe's made the playoffs since 2020.
Yeah.
And so for them, it's a big deal. Coming up on Thursday will be the fourth anniversary of their loss in the playoffs to Norwayne. And it was a crushing loss on Halloween for them. They graduated 21 of 22 starters after that game. So for Coach Mark Porcello to get his team back to this point, building from basically one player, Andrew Darch's older brother, Thomas, was the only returning player in 2021. And it's a big deal for them to get there again. And anybody that knows me knows that I cover their games because I graduated from there. But I try to stay, impartial. I'm sometimes not good at that, but
I did want to say one thing, and this, I don't know if you want to say this is the key to victory, but one thing that I saw out of Wycliffe when I covered them was they were able to control the ground game, and pretty much like they have, a lot of the year, especially in their victories, but they came out and I want to say it was the second half. It was either late first half or early second half. Obviously, they ran a fake and the quarterback Frankie Bukar just threw a perfect pass. I believe it was 40 some yards for a touchdown. And it's, if they can control the ground game, it opens up, more of a it opens up that passing game. Even we know that they run a smaller they have a small playbook, but if they need to use that to win this game, it's there if they can control the ground.
They have a small playbook, but it's bigger than it used to be.
Right.
Believe me,
really
it used to be two plays, that's one thing too. I have to say about Coach Porcello is he has evolved as a coach through the years. Talking to him, having conversations with him, he has he's evolved as a coach and makes adjustments, well now from game to game, and he'll look at that film of Toronto and he'll make adjustments. And now that we've spent way too much time on my Wycliffe, let's move on to another school that I have a soft spot for. The Fairport Harding Skippers have made the playoffs. They're 5-4. They'll travel to Hillsdale, who are 9-1. And as we said, you never know. Tommy, you've seen Fairport.
I've seen them a lot. Yeah, I'll say this. I have a soft spot for Fairport as well, but as I used to coach there, but Fairport's schedule is not exactly the hardest schedule in the world. And the good examples, last time they made the playoffs, they were, I believe, it was a 6-game season only, and I think they were 5-1, and the team they played was 0-6, and they lost by 40.
So they haven't made it since 2020.
Yeah. So
okay.
I believe that was last time. They're going to have to do a lot well. This Hillsdale team is good from what I'm looking at. And Fairport hasn't played the strongest of schedules, so they're going to have to have their A game, and if they don't, it could be a very tough game for them.
And I think that's what you notice in high school sports is if you play a tough schedule, you are more likely to advance in the playoffs.
Yeah, but you also might not make it. Like, that's a thing for Harvey, is maybe their first 3 games could have been easier games, and they win one more game, they're in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
But Brady Lawson is their quarterback.
He's a good quarterback.
He's a senior now, right?
He's a junior.
Oh, he's a junior. Okay, I was going to say.
None of their supporting cast is really are seniors. So
okay, so that's good for them.
Yeah,
that's good for their future. So Hillsdale, that's about a 90-minute drive. I saw from where we are.
It told me an hour and 10 from my house. So.
Okay, well you're closer, yeah.
Concord.
So we got that game, and then our next game is the South at Walsh Jesuit. Okay, and South is 3-7. They improved this year. They're another young team. We've got some young teams that are getting back into the playoffs this year. Wycliffe, Fairport, South. We haven't got to Riverside yet, but they're younger too because they graduated a lot last year. But South at Walsh Jesuit. Joey, you've seen South. Tommy, you saw South. These matchups are what they are, but what are South's strengths right now, Joey?
South is a very well coached team. Coach Matt Duffy is, he's been there has head coach 21 years, I believe. This is his 21st year. He was a defensive coordinator before that, so he's been there for, I think 23, 24 years. They have just like you said, they are a very young team. Their starting quarterback is a sophomore, Luke Jensen. They have a really tough, good running back who's a junior, Jaden Hardy. They got some strength, but where Tommy has said anything can happen, their biggest win, and I think the win that really even helped them propel themselves into the playoffs, was they beat Lorraine, who that's their only loss on the year, is Willoughby South. Lorraine is 9-1. Their only loss is the Willoughby South. But you are going up against an absolute juggernaut in Walsh Jesuit.
Yeah.
This is a team that I would actually be shocked if they didn't at least make the state title game. Walsh beat Akron. They beat Archbishop Hoban. This is a very, very good team, and anything can happen. But man, this is going to be tough.
This is one of those examples, though. I believe, in this debate, maybe we'll even have a show on this at some point, where, like in Texas and like in New York, there needs to be
public-private.
The OHSAA needs to go to a private and a public school divisions, because you're putting a Walsh Jesuit up against South. Come on, and even though the OHSAA will staunchly deny that recruiting doesn't go on in private schools, it 100% goes on. And this is an example of pretty much, let's be honest, every kid on that field for Walsh Jesuit was probably recruited.
90. And
who did South recruit? Oh, nobody. They play with who's within their district.
Yeah.
It's, you ever see the movie Little Giants?
Yeah.
Tommy did. I did. I'm not a big movie guy.
Okay. So this is like the Little Giants, where it's like the rag.
Now, if you ask me about TV shows, well, yeah.
Well, this is like the Little Giants, which was it was like a ragtag group, had to take on I think they were the Giants, and then the other team was the Cowboys, and it was like, an insurmountable task. And this would be like if the Little Giants beat the actual NFL New York Giants. Like South is going to be very good for the foreseeable future. I think that Willoughby South next year is going to be, they're going to be somewhere between the 6 and 8 range in wins, and they're going to continue on that path for the next, maybe 4 or 5 years, because they got a really good, not just, they only have 8 seniors on this team, and I believe only 5 or 6 are starters. Okay. Everyone else is sophomore, junior. They have a ton of freshmen, and they have a really good 7th and 8th grade team coming up too.
Just for transparency here, Joey is a South graduate. You played for Duffy, right?
Duffy was Coach Matt Duffy was my defensive coordinator when I played. We had a different head coach, and I know Coach Duffy extremely well, and I know he's going to have the team as prepared as they possibly could be. Like Tommy said, again, anything can happen. They did beat Lorraine, who only blemish on the season, but Walsh is not Lorraine. So this is going to be a very, very, very tough task. Walsh Jesuit's got a couple of recruits that are going to be going to Division I schools, and this would be a monumental upset. But as Tommy said, anything can happen.
So next we have Madison at Geneva. It'll be at Spire Institute. Joey will be covering it. Madison is 7-3. Geneva is 9-1. Joey, you covered. You saw Madison play, right?
Yep, I think Tommy did too.
I did. That's
Yeah.
South
Okay.
Madison.
Was that against South?
Yeah, that was the worst.
That was the week before you came home.
It was, and it was the worst ref game I have ever seen.
Yeah, both ways. It was like,
oh my God,
had not a clue what was going on that.
Look,
no,
I saw the rule book come out twice at Wycliffe games this year. Okay, so
me and Tommy offered one of the refs if they needed help that we could tell them how far the ball should go on penalties because they had no idea.
I mean, I know, I don't want to get on these refs because look, it's a hard job. It's a hard job, and part of the problem is they can't find new ones because of criticism. But
this was beyond criticism. It was just because there was no communication between the refs.
And you don't know how long a penalty is. You could see one ref pissed off at another ref. Like it was ridiculous. I'll tell you, I think it was Jeff Shudell who was there.
Yeah, Jeff was at that game, right?
Yeah.
He tweeted. He tweeted. And this was the worst ref football game.
You know what? That was the same night.
That
was the same night that the rule book came out the first time at a game at Wycliffe.
Was that when the coach had to go to the locker room because the ref didn't have his?
Coach Sharp had to run to the locker room. Wycliffe's Coach Sharp had to run to the locker room. The other game, the official at least had the rule book by the goalpost at the other end. He had to run down and get it. But look, these guys, I think they do their best. They try to do their best. It's just I think it's passed some of them by. That's the issue, I think.
I remember I think that game, that was the longest game in Lake County.
That game ended.
I want to say all year. Me and Tommy were there. I think that game didn't end until 10:30 or almost 11.
It was almost.
Yeah, I think I was writing my article at home by the time you guys told me it was over.
Yeah, you were asleep, I think, by the time the game was over. But getting into Madison, number one, Geneva, phenomenal team. They've been great all year. Madison, I'm gonna say I'm a little surprised at 7-3 is still as good as they are, after having graduated so many kids from last year. So to see this team still be that good, that they have a good program, and me and Tommy were talking, and you when we were and you Tim when we were talking about people trying to kind of replicate and duplicate Kirtland, and start these kids from Pee Wee and go all the way through high school. And I know Madison has done that. So to see this team still be 7-3 at the end of the year, and they had some close games, but you have to really be able to dig down deep in a lot of these close games to pull out the wins, and that builds character as a team. It builds character as individuals, as individual players. So they know what they're going up against with Geneva, and I think this game, for as good as Geneva is, I think this game is going to be a really good game.
2 weeks ago, Geneva beat them 21-14. Mm-hmm. So it's not like they can't beat Geneva. However, it's not that Madison isn't a good squad, but I feel like they overachieved a touch this regular season. I just do. Just from what I've seen them on the field, to me it wasn't like they were exceptional. You know what I mean? But
right, but I don't want to bring go back 21 years, but I will. I remember the two teams that were tough around here when I played were Libby South when I played for them, and Chardon. Chardon is all Chardon's been good for they were good back then, and they kind of went through a lull period, and then they came back with a vengeance. And we beat Chardon for the title for the conference championship. And then we met them again a few weeks later in the playoffs. We both won a couple of games in the playoffs, and then we met them again, and they wanted it a little bit more, beat us in overtime on a blocked extra point. So having Geneva beat winning by 7, Madison's going to remember that, and they're going to dig down deep, and it's just a matter of
they are scrappy. So that's why they've won games.
Yeah.
And I can appreciate that being from Wycliffe. You got to be scrappy.
Mm-hmm.
So, Joey? Well, we're going to do a show on Thursday where we're going to pick the games. But Riverside at Green is the final game with Lake County matchups. Tommy or Joey, you saw Riverside. We got Riverside is 4-6. And Green is 6-4. Riverside had a lot of turnover this year. They graduated a bunch of guys, both on offense and defense. One of their best players defensively, Dom Kirks, is now playing for Ohio State as a freshman, and he's got into some games. So big turnover. Their coach retired. So they had a new coach this year. So really 4-6 probably is not that bad of a year. And they got better as the year went on.
Yeah, and then, like we said, they started off 0-3. Right? Was it 0-3? I believe it was 0-3. So, I mean, you go 4-3 the rest of the year. I mean, their quarterback they had last year, I mean, he was a stud too. I mean, I believe he's already the starter at Mount Union. Yeah, that's Division III, but that's Mount Second
string.
Is he the second? I know he's played a little though, right?
He's got he actually a couple of weeks ago, I believe I don't know how long ago it was, 4 or 5 weeks ago, he broke his leg.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's Mount Union.
But still, it's impressive to be even a number 2 on a school like that.
Mount Union's the Ohio State of D3.
Well, Mount Union to Division II and III schools is known as the Evil Empire.
Yeah.
They are not, because they're just so good. They're just always good. And the fact that he's already played in games shows just how good he was.
There's a kid from Fairport that's a tight end for them. I mean, he's on their squad too. So
well, how about and didn't they have a really good receiver last year too, Joey?
Yep, Brady McKnight. He is also at Mount Union. They had this just shows how good they were last year. They had Dom Kirks, who is at Ohio State now, defensive end. They had their other defensive end, Antonio. I know I'm going to butcher his last name. I always do. Bugliotti. He is on a double scholarship at Kent State for football and wrestling. They had their quarterback Mikey Maloney, who originally committed to Dayton, then decommitted and went and decided to go to Mount Union. He started the year as a second-string quarterback. They had Brady McKnight, who is he decided to redshirt this year as for Mount Union, as well as another lineman, Isaiah Walter, who was also a Mount Union. So that's 5 players, 5 seniors from last year, who 3 of which are on the best Division III school in the country. And then, one going to Kent State, Division I, and one going to Ohio State. And that just shows you how, and their running back from last year, excuse me, their running back from last year decided that, he could have played, probably at like Mount Union or I know he was talking about playing, but he didn't want it. He didn't want to play football anymore. And he was a phenomenal running back. They graduated so many kids, and yet, they were 4-6. Their quarterback got hurt, so they've been using their second string quarterback, who is a good quarterback, but he's a sophomore. He's still learning. They have a junior running back, Kendall McCaleb, who just came back from an official visit with the University of Pittsburgh, the Pitt Panthers. Extremely, extremely good running back. I believe he had almost or over 2,000 yards on the season. They have again, they have a good team. It's just that they, like South, like some of these other teams we talked about, they're very young, but they will be very good in the next year. And then you had, like you said, you have a brand new coach, Coach Boers, who retired last year. He's also he was also the athletic director and still is the athletic director for Painesville Riverside. He stepped down, but Coach Jeremy Ishmael, who was an assistant for them for a long time, is the new head coach. So it's not like they went and hired from the outside. It's someone who's known these kids and has helped them grow, as student athletes. And that's a big thing that they always emphasize at Riverside, is the student athlete part. So they have these kids. These kids are not just they're not just athletes, but they are extremely, extremely smart, which is something I always admired. I always admire about Riverside. But this is just, it's a young team, but it's a scrappy team again. Like Tommy said, there's like Madison, they're a scrappy team, and I think that this is a matchup that I think it could go either way. I think that if Riverside is ready, yep, I think that they can win this game.
6-4 team versus 4-6. Being a 4-6 and getting to play a 6-4 team, that's a blessing, really.
Yeah, it really is.
Most 4-6 teams are going to be playing 10-0 teams.
Yeah, the last game I covered was Chardon at Riverside. That's a rivalry game.
They played well.
Yeah,
Chardon is the Chardon's a tough team. And it was 25-14. And
Chardon would beat Green, so
Riverside never gave up, and that's just if they get if McCaleb gets going, it opens up the passing game more. They got a really good defense, and Chardon runs an offense very similar to Wycliffe, actually. A lot of what was that?
Wycliffe runs like it used to be fully wing T, but they've changed it up a little now.
Yeah, Chardon runs it's pretty much. It was basically, I was watching Chardon was like watching just a bigger Wycliffe team. It was just if they needed a first down, they were giving it to Caleb Hewitt around the end, and Riverside did their best to stop it. But Riverside's a good young team, and I'll be very excited to see who wins that game on Friday.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that's going to be it for our Ohio high school football preview. Like I said, we'll be back with a shorter prediction show probably on Thursday. I'll be back on Wednesday with the pregame and the postgame show from Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse as the Cavaliers take on the Los Angeles Lakers. When the two kids from Akron come to town, and hopefully the Cavs beat them. But so until then, I think that's it. Joey, Tommy, thanks for doing the show today, and I think the playoffs should be pretty exciting.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Thanks to Tommy. What's the name of the roofing company again?
CT Roofing and Power Wash.
Joey, it's the official.
I know. I keep forgetting.
County Sentinel.
Thank you again to CT Roofing for sponsoring the show. Thank you to the Lake County Sentinel, and we'll be back.
All right. We will. We'll see everybody later. Have a good day.